All you sports fans out there, and welcome to this week's edition of the Hot Seat Sports Talk. And this week, we are so blessed to be joined by former NFL and current CFL kick returner Stefan Logan. Stefan, great to have you with us today.
Man, thanks for having me on, man. I really appreciate it, man. Thank you.
Absolutely. So let's just dive right into it because we got a lot of questions that we want to ask you. First off, you attended the University of South Dakota, and not only did you play football there, but you ran track as well, setting records in 60 meters and 100 meters. Could you tell us a little bit more about that?
I wasn't a track star. I was more of a football guy, but when I tried out for the track team, the coach was saying, he said, if you're gonna bring in points on the track team, then he would let us go out and run. And I knew the 60 was going to be my race. I wasn't really a 100-meter guy. So, track was fun, but I didn't like it because most of the events I was in was individual events, and I didn't like losing. So, you know, running track was fun, but it gave me it. I had more butterflies in my stomach from track than I did from football because I knew it was one-on-one, me and seven other guys or eight other guys out there on the track. So, track was fun, but I would choose football any day.
Wow, that's interesting to hear because when I was doing my research, I saw that you broke those records. I'm like, wow, that's really impressive too. Go along with football, so that's really impressive.
I didn't break the 60-meter record until my last track meet, the last race of the season, when we was it was right before nationals, and I did everything in one race. I broke the record. I made it to nationals, and I went to nationals, and I came in seventh because I didn't have a good start in the 60. The 60 is like it's over. And I did it was crazy. I did everything in one race. It was unbelievable. I was like, whoa, but yeah.
It's amazing here. We got an all-star, pretty much athlete all around with us today.
Yeah. I am also all around. Only sport the sport I wanted to play was basketball, but I was too short.
Oh. Well, it's good we have such a successful football career for you then.
I did.
Oh man, speaking of that, now we're gonna talk about your professional career. Now we're talking about that. So, with one of my favorite teams, the Pittsburgh Steelers, yes.
Yes,
How did they contact you after your first year?
It was more like my agent. He did all the work. I just did everything on the field. And right after the season, when I was up in Canada playing for the BC Lions, I had two teams coming out of football. I had Carolina Panthers and I had Pittsburgh Steelers. And of course, you're gonna choose the most winning Super Bowl team was the Pittsburgh Steelers. So I ended up going to the Steelers. And even though I played 1 year with Pittsburgh, it was a great year. I finished second on the Pro Bowl ballot behind Joshua Cribs that year. He was the Pro Bowl. He won as the kick return and punt return for Pro Bowl that year in 2009, and I finished second behind him. And that's when it got started, man. It was like off to the races after that.
Yeah, that's just that was. Pittsburgh came off a fantastic year in the Super Bowl, beating Arizona that year. And then you joining that roster. So, you played along with some legends like Ben Roethlisberger, Heath Miller, and you were within a wide receiver room with Hines Ward, Mike Wallace, and Santonio Holmes. What was it like being in a meeting room with such, such big caliber names like that?
I think when I came into the league, into the NFL, it was the best thing for me because I came to a team full of veterans. And like you said, I was on a team that just came off the Super Bowl, just won the Super Bowl, and it was some great guys. And Mike Tomlin, he didn't really have to say much as the head coach because the veteran players did it all for him. So, when I came in that wide receiver room, Mike Wallace, me and him came in the same year. He was just drafted. I was a free agent. And it was just it was humbling at the same time because Hines Ward was the captain, and all we had to do was follow his lead, and he gave us all the information. He gave us everything we needed to know while we was playing football. Like when it came to getting married, when it came to relationships, when it came to signing autographs, doing contracts, just talking to the fans, talking to the coaches, playing on the field, in practice. Like, he always gave us the tools that we needed. So he made it a lot easier for us because we had already heard it from a guy at that time. I think he was in his 12th year, I'm going to say, and he made it easy. So all we had to do was go out there and just play football.
I mean, just being with those guys, you look at what they've done in their careers, and I just can't imagine being in a room and being on a team with those type of receivers. I mean, that's just, those are just legends in both in Pittsburgh and in the game of football.
Yes, it is. I mean, like I said, it was so crazy. I mean, Santonio Holmes, he didn't really say much. He was more on the quiet side. But I'll say, I remember when we was in practice and, was back there doing the punt return and kick return. And I wasn't a returner until I got to NFL. And I was back there catching the punts, and they had just drafted Joe Burnett, 5th round. He was an All-American returner at UCF, and I was going against him. So I was basically a camp body. I wasn't even supposed to make the team. Like, I found that out after I made the team. Like, I wasn't even in their plans as far as making the team. And I remember going up to Santonio Holmes because he did it in college at Ohio State, catching punts. And I didn't have the traditional way of catching the ball. They want you to have, elbows tucked. You should be able to look at your fingertips when you're catching the ball. And I wasn't like, I was more low. I catch the ball low, and I just had to, as long as my hands touched the ball, I would catch it. So I went to him because coach kind of, the special team coach, he kept like being tedious about everything I did. And I was like, man, like, what am I doing wrong? I'm not dropping the ball. I'm not doing nothing wrong. And and Santonio Holmes told me, he said, bro, just catch the ball. Don't worry about all that. He said, just catch the ball and then do your work. So after he told me that, I just took it and ran with it. I didn't care nothing about how I caught the ball. I didn't care what coach said. I just said, catch the ball. So my motto is, catch the ball, do work.
It's a good motto to live by, especially in the NFL.
So, yeah, even taking it and running with it, too.
And taking it and run with it after that.
So you were mentioning that you were transitioning to become a returner. So also that season with the Steelers, you broke the franchise record in return yards. Like, did you know right away during that time that you broke it, or like did someone have to tell you after it?
I knew prior to that game. I knew like maybe a week and a half before the game came, because we played one game, and the media people and the like the scouts and stuff like that, it was like, Steph, man, you so close to breaking Randall's record. And I'm like, no, because at that time I'm a rookie and I'm just doing my best to stay on this team. So I'm like, I'm just trying to do everything I can to stay on this team. I didn't care what I had to do. And that game, when I caught that ball and I got those yards, I knew I needed so many yards that game in order for me to break the record. And once I broke for that long, I knew I needed, like, at that time when I got that ball, I knew I needed, like, I forgot how many yards it was. So once I broke past the 50 or whatever, and I got to the 50 or whatever it was, I knew right then that I had broke the record, because I was only a few yards shy from breaking it. And then once I broke it, as you already know, I ain't gonna lie, I played for Detroit for 3 years, but Pittsburgh has the best fans ever. And everybody just went crazy. They put the thing on the Jumbotron. Mike Tomlin was like, man, congratulations. And he was like, game not over, though. And everybody just came, patted me on the helmet and everything like that. I ended up getting the ball at the end for breaking the record, and it still stands to this day.
Wow.
Very impressive. It's just, you think about all the returners that Pittsburgh's had, like Antonio Brown and all those different guys in recent history, and they haven't come close. So kudos to you on that record, and that's still it's still standing in Pittsburgh today.
Yes, sir.
Oh, man, that's really awesome to hear.
Oh, yeah.
One more question about the Steelers. One more last questions of the Steelers. So when you were with them for that year, did you hang out with anyone in particular? Did you have like a certain group that you hung out with there?
I mean, I was always one of those guys that I got along with everybody, no matter where I was at, no matter what team I was on. And me and Mike Wallace, Keenan Lewis, because him and Mike Wallace was the best of friends, best friends. They both came in that same year, second or third round, or third and fourth round, I can't remember. And we all used to hang out. We used to go to Hines Ward's. He used to have that bar. We used to go there I think it was every Monday night, I think it was, or every Thursday night. It was one of those nights we used to go watch the game. And me and one of the man, I haven't talked to him in a while, but it was me and he plays safety, a guy named Roy Lewis, and me and him, we hung out like every other day because we stayed in the same apartment building, and me and him became close friends. And he ended up leaving after that same year during training camp. He ended up leaving and going to Seattle, and we still kept in contact, but I haven't talked to him in a long time. But yeah, I hung out with a few of the guys, not very many.
That's interesting to hear. And and also what was now Tom Brady's head coach in Tampa Bay now, Bruce Arians, like as your offensive coordinator in Pittsburgh?
I don't know. I didn't really care too much for Coach Arians at to be honest with you, because I just didn't like the way he talked to the guys. I didn't like the way he talked to the players, and he just felt like he could talk to you any kind of way, and I wasn't about that. I was never a kiss ass type guy. I never did that. I always showed like I let my talent do the talking for me, and I don't know I don't know if he liked me very much because I never said much at all. I used to always just go to practice and I work hard. So, he he was good for what he was doing, and everybody always say the guru get these quarterbacks and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. But, he didn't really say much to me because I was just a returner as they would look at it. I would just catch the ball, get them positive yards, and, always try to put them in great field position so I can make it easy for the offense. So, he wasn't a bad guy. I just wasn't a fan of his. So I don't want to talk bad about somebody, but he wasn't a fan of mine. I wasn't a fan of his. So, and I could be wrong. I don't know, but that's just how I felt.
That's it. Yeah, that's interesting to hear because, like you said, everyone points to Coach Arians for all the quarterbacks that he coached, like Roethlisberger, Manning, now with Brady in Tampa Bay. So that's a very interesting take on Bruce Arians. So so now, unfortunately, you were you're released by the Steelers next season, but then you were instantly picked up by our hometown Detroit Lions the next day. Was there a big culture change coming from Detroit to Detroit from Pittsburgh?
Not really. I just knew I was gonna be playing in the dome. I was playing for the team the running back that I idoled my whole career, and that's why I wanted to play football. I wanted to be every bit of Barry Sanders. So when I came in, I was like, in my mind, I knew I was just a returner to those coaches. But in my mind, I was like, man, I'm going to do everything I can to try to prove to them that I'm not just a returner. I am a running back by heart. That's my position. And I said I wanted to be the next Barry Sanders. I wasn't going to wear number 20, but I wanted to be the next Barry Sanders. So once I came to Detroit, it was like I was starting all over again. I didn't know anybody. I didn't know none of the team, none of the players. We had played against them that year when I was in Pittsburgh, and it was just like, man, I got to do all this over again, which was good for me because I always say like change is good. So once I got there, I was like, okay, I don't know any of these guys. All I got to do is prove to the coach who he brought in here, and he know that he made the right decision. And that year as well, I made the Pro Bowl again. I finished second that year again behind Devin Hester, which he is the best returner ever. But I can say that year in 2010, I finished second on the Pro Bowl ballot, and I had a better average, and I had more yards than him that year.
I mean, it's just Devin Hester, one of the best returners the game's ever seen. But like you said, the stats don't lie. It's unfortunate that you finished second, but it's still impressive to make that Pro Bowl ballot. I mean, not many guys can say that.
I know.
So about a month later, after you signed on October 10th, 2010, which was my birthday on 10/10/10, I was 10. you tied a Lions franchise record by returning an open kickoff against St. Louis, the St. Louis Rams, 105 yards. As you were strolling into the end zone, tell us what the atmosphere was like at Ford Field, and like what was going through your mind returning that kick. Like, did you think you were going to go all the way as soon as you caught it?
I mean, you every time you catch the ball, you already got in your mind that you want to take it the distance every time. And I remember the fullback, Fuller, was kind of like, coach would give me the okay. He said, if it's 5 yards deep, if you catch it at 5 and you going forward, bring it out. So I kind of caught that ball. I was going backwards. So when I caught, I plant, and then like a quick second hesitation, and then I just took off running. And I knew right then, I said, Steph, you got to get past the 35 because that's just, if you're going to kneel the ball in the end zone, you don't want to be starting at the 25 or whatever it is. I can't even remember no more because they don't do no kickoff returns no more. And once I came out and I seen that lane and I was just running through, I was like, man, even if I get tackled, I'm going to have some good positive yards on there. So, running into that end zone, man, running down the field, the only thing you're thinking about is trying not to fall because you're so excited. You're ready to celebrate with the fans. You're ready to celebrate with the team. And you just like, oh, my God, like you finally did something that everybody been waiting on all this time. And it was just – and then, of course, it was a record. I didn't know. And, it was just a weight lifted off your shoulders, man. It was just like something like, you always have that dream to – score an NFL touchdown, and when I did it, man, it was just crazy. I got all the guys on the sideline just cheering me on, high fiving me. It was like, man, I was like, hey, there you go, coach. But everything is fun.
Oh, what's always important to hear is that you always have fun in the end too with all the success you had. So it's just awesome to hear that when you were in Pittsburgh and Detroit, just everyone just realized the success you had with them with your returning. It's just really great to hear that.
It's funny how I didn't. It's funny because my name popped with so many people and so many fans, and I always tell people I was just a returner, and I'm not tooting my own horn, but I have to give myself some credit because everywhere I've been, I've always been a star. So anytime people will hear my name, they be like, "I heard your name before," and I'll be like, and now I just be like. I don't say, oh, you might have seen me on TV. I just be like, I don't know.
Probably have.
Yeah,
So before earlier, we were asking about the wide receivers you were with in Pittsburgh, but now you shifted to Detroit and you had names like Nate Burleson and Calvin Johnson.
Yeah.
So in meetings, practices, whatever, any relationships you had on or off the field, what were those players like?
I would say when I got to Detroit, I like that locker room a little bit better because the wide receiver group was so close, like it was like brothers. And me and Nate Burleson, we call ourselves like brothers from another mother. We still talk to this day. I still go. I actually since I've been playing in Canada, which I'm retired now. When I go up, I have to go through New York, and that's where his house is. That's where they got him at doing the TV show.
Yeah.
And I stay at his house. We still talk. Matter of fact, when I go back to Pennsylvania, but that's where I'm coaching at now, my car is up there actually in their garage. When I was called the other day, but Calvin, they Titus when he came in, Mari Stovall when he came in, Rasheed Davis when he came in, the other Nate Hughes. Man, we was just like, man, we were just a band of brothers, man. I mean, that room with Coach Sean Jefferson, OG is what they call him. That room, we were so tight, man. We just did everything together. Like, we used to have days in practice where we would do this. We would call it kind of like the blackout. Like, we would wear black tights, black cleats, black gloves, and black shields. But there's no other color showing but the blue jersey. So everything else was black. And we used to do that like once a week or twice a week. And then the other guys, the DBs, started copying off us. They started doing it too. So it was a little catchy thing that we started doing, which was so funny, but it was cool at the same time. So I mean, just those guys alone, man. It was just a good group of guys, great atmosphere, man. We just had a whole lot of fun playing football. And
Absolutely.
of course, Calvin made it easy for us too.
I mean, that's what I was gonna say. Like, guys like Nate Burleson, Calvin Johnson. I mean, Calvin Johnson's a name in Detroit, but it's almost like when you bring up Barry Sanders' name, they're in the same group. So having meeting Calvin only once or twice, just a legend in himself. And Nate Burleson and Maurice Stovovich. When I was 12, my first training camp right here, me walking out with Maurice Stovall. So
That's crazy, man.
I mean, it's just 8 years ago. A lot has changed.
Yeah.
So in your first season in Detroit, 2010 was an injury-plagued season with Stafford, Jason Hanson, Van Den Bosch, and Kevin Smith all going down with injuries.
Yep.
But your second semester at Detroit, 2011, is, in my opinion, all the talent was there. Besides the draft and free agent signings, was there a shift in that offseason with the roster you guys had? And did all you think that you could make a deep run into the NFC playoffs?
Like you said, we had the talent, man. We had the names. We had everybody on that team that came from major colleges, that big D1 schools that made a name for themselves in college. And we had the numbers, man. Like, nobody couldn't tell us that we didn't have on paper one of the best teams. But like you said, that first year we had a lot of injuries, and then that second year, which was Jim Schwartz, I think it was his third year as a head coach or something like that. And he was still learning, he was still new, and we had, man. We had everybody, man. I mean, when you just name all the guys, man. I mean, I played with a whole bunch of good guys, man. Some great guys that's done now. Maybe like one or two guys that's still in the league from when I first came in. But I mean, just hands down, man, we had a great team, and we just didn't have that leadership to put it out there for us like we did. And I know Jim Schwartz. I actually like Jim. That was his first time as a head coach. He was still learning, and I think now with the Eagles, if he get another chance to be a head coach, I think he's going to be a great head coach. He's a great defensive coordinator. He just was, he was still wet behind the ears, man. But I think he'll be a great head coach when he get his next opportunity.
Right, like you said, like Jim Schwartz, you got you guys, the Lions, to the playoffs a few times, but no end results. And goes to Philly as a defensive coordinator and ends up winning a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Under Nick Foles replacing Carson Wentz that year. Yeah. So you never know with all the crazy shifts. Maybe if the Lions don't do so hot this year, maybe he can make his way back if Patricia's not as great as he was last season. So you never know. The NFL coaching carousel is always rotating.
It is.
So now continuing with a little more talk with the playoffs, but then a huge shift for you actually. So after you guys lost to the Saints in the wild card, you switched from a wide receiver position to a running back in the 2012 season.
Yeah.
Did you make that switch personally, or was it the coaches that made you switch? Like, what was going on with that process?
They switched me to running back because Javid Best came in, and we already know from college he was already battling from head injuries from the concussion he had his senior year, which I was actually watching that game. And when he got hurt, I came in that next day. Well, I came in that week, and Jim Schwartz called me in the office, and he said, "Hey, we're going to move you to running back." And he said, "Go down there and see the offensive coordinator," which was Scott Linehan, which I'm not a fan of. I'm not a fan of Scott at all. Like, I don't like the man at all, but whatever. And I go down, I see Scott. He tells me, "Hey, I want you to do, and I want you to learn all the Javid plays." And if you could have seen when I walked out that room, I had the biggest smile on my face because I was like, finally, I'm going to show you guys who I really am as a football player. And no lie, you can ask Calvin. You can ask Calvin and Nate. That first week in practice, I had picked up the plays like that. I looked so natural at running back. The camera people, the reporters, and Nate and Calvin, they came to me. Players on the team came to me and said, "Steph, what position do you play?" I said, "I am a running back." and the first thing they said was, "No wonder why you look so natural back there." I say, "That's what I've been trying to tell y'all this whole time. I'm not a receiver." I said, "I am a running back." I said, "I get the ball and run. I catch a swing pass 5 yards away from the quarterback." I said, "I don't run no dig at 12 to 15 yards, or I'm not running no comeback at 12 yards. I'm not doing none of that." So I was so excited, man. I was so happy, and I just felt like God was answering my prayers, and He did. But unfortunately, I still didn't play running back that year. Still had me as a returner. So yeah.
I mean, you know, like you say, catching swing passes and screens out of the backfield from Stafford, and or Sean Hill or Drew Stanton, whoever was in that quarterback during that time, but mostly it was Matthew Stafford. You know,
Can you hear me?
I mean, that's where I remember watching. That's where you were most lethal, is catching those screens out of the backfield and just getting a few blocks from your offensive line and just going and just boom, go. So now looking back, before we transition your time into the Canadian Football League, and our Rapid Fire 7, which we do with all of our guests, do you still keep in contact with the guys you play in, like you said, like at Pittsburgh and Detroit?
Yeah, I keep in contact with a few of the guys. You know, everybody is kind of, you know, right now with everything going on, a lot of people got a lot of stuff going on too, like whether they open up different businesses or doing things with their family or just working regular 9 to 5s or, you know, training people, gyms, you know, whatever it is. So I keep in contact with guys, you know, especially with the social media being so big, you know, with Facebook, Twitter, Snapchat, Instagram. So I get a chance to still keep in touch with guys, and you know, we send messages. Or if they ever come to Miami, they always say, "Man, if I come down, bro, I'm gonna hit you, man. Let's slide, let's go out, have a drink." You know, I have a boat as well, so they be like, "Man, let's go fishing, stuff like that."
Yeah.
So yeah, I still keep in contact with some of my guys, man. We all friends, we all cool at the end of the day, you know. But yeah, I still talk to some of them.
That's so awesome. That's so awesome to hear, especially social media making it so much easier now to keep in contact with those guys. That's awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, especially during these times as well as what we're going through.
Right. It's COVID-19, crazy.
Yeah, definitely crazy. So, Aaron mentioned it just a few seconds ago. We're about to start our rapid fire 7 questions with you. So just be prepared. We're going to ask you random questions off the wall, and hopefully we'll get some good answers from you. You ready?
Okay, let's see.
All right, so I will begin. First off, what is your favorite vacation spot?
Favorite vacation spot? I would say Miami, Florida.
All right.
No. Let me stop kidding. Favorite vacation spot I would say was Hawaii.
Hawaii. Yeah, I wish I could. Man, I wish I could go to Hawaii. Favorite NFL city to visit. Also, best food from that city that you visited.
Favorite city I visited, what I would say was the Arizona Cardinals. And food, I'm not really a food guy, so I can't really say like the restaurants. I would kind of go anywhere as long as I eat. So, but my best city I would say was Arizona.
All right.
All right. So just growing up in life in general doesn't have to be an athlete, just someone in general. Did you have a role model that you looked up to?
My role model would be my mom and dad.
That's
awesome.
That's a great answer. Favorite CFL city to visit.
Favorite CFL city to visit would be Vancouver, BC, Vancouver and BC.
All right.
So throughout your life so far up until now, what has been your proudest accomplishment?
My proudest accomplishment would be that, of course, I lived my dream. I wanted to play football, and I did that. But I would say my biggest accomplishment was before my dad just passed away this year in April, would be him seeing me live up my dream. That was my biggest accomplishment.
That's such a proud moment.
Yeah, that's such a huge moment. I can't I feel you because my grandfather passed in September of 2019, so I understand he got to see my fullest potential on the football field. Not playing in college, but just playing all to my ability in high school. So
Yeah.
what is your favorite TV show?
Favorite TV show would be oh oh man, I don't know, and I watch it every night. What is what was Steve Harvey?
Family Feud.
Family Feud. God, yeah, I watch it every night. I don't know how I could even think of it. I got a brain freeze real quick. It would be Family Feud.
Oh,
Yes.
He
oh,
makes it really funny. He just makes it really enjoyable to watch.
and his
Feud is the
suits,
best.
man. And his suits, man. I tell you what,
Hey.
probably the nicest suits.
He be sharp, don't he? He be sharp.
The man can dress.
Yes, sir.
Oh man. So a final question for you from our rapid fire. What is your favorite sport to either watch or play that's not football?
Oh, my favorite sport to watch would be NHRA drag racing.
Ooh,
Oh,
okay.
Yeah, I've seen some of those. They can get pretty intense.
I went to my first one. I had a race car myself. I went to my first one last year in Gainesville. It was the 50th annual, and if we didn't have all this going on, I was going to try to go every year since last year. I was going to try to make that something. Excuse me. I was going to try to make that something that I would start doing every year. I would go to different cities, different states, and go all around the world and try to go to different NHRA races.
Wow, that's so interesting to hear because most of the guys that we've interviewed during our revival season say like, oh, besides football, it's either basketball or going golfing or stuff like that. But
Yeah.
hearing drag racing and stuff like that, that's a very different and unique answer that we've never heard before. So
I love it, man. I love it.
So that's the end of our rapid fire for you. So let's jump into your time in the CFL. So after the Detroit Lions, you returned to the BC Lions and made the playoffs both seasons during your time with them. How was the transition? What was the transition like going from the NFL back into the CFL?
I mean, it was pretty easy for me because I had already been there before. So, once I got there, the guys had already knew who I was because some of them I played with in 2008 when I first went to Canada, and then when I came back the end of 2013, some of the guys were still there. So it was easy for me. I mean, I like I said, I get along with everybody. So me coming into that transition was easy. We was getting ready to go to the playoffs, so we knew, if we win 2 games, then next thing you know, we got the Grey Cup. So, it was easy for me.
That's because there's obvious different rules and different ways on how the CFL goes, on their play, on how the field's shaped, with the goalposts in the front and the end zone about I don't know how many yards deep it is compared to the NFL, compared to the NFL's 10. So I mean, it's just so different. It's a different league, but it's also kind of the same as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, each league always, I pretty much feel like they have their own twists in it just to make it feel like it's theirs. And definitely with the CFL, you can definitely see those differences. And quite frankly, I think it's pretty entertaining to watch as well and see that.
It is entertaining, man. It is entertaining. I mean, the field is bigger, like you said, it's wider. And if you got a guy that can really run, he can really show his speed up in the CFL because of the field being so big. So, you got to take advantage of all that kind of stuff. And it's a lot of guys that came from the NFL that has transitioned to the CFL and actually fall in love with playing in the CFL to where they have opportunities to go back that they just say, nah, I'm good here. I like it here. So,
Wow.
And I've seen it with my own eyes. Guys turn down NFL opportunities to stay in the CFL.
Wow.
Wow, that's very interesting to hear.
All right, so Stefan, let's continue to talk about some more great accomplishments you had. So with the Montreal Outlets, you played along with Kyler Ellsworth, who was a guest on our show.
Yeah.
So with that time, tell us about how you became one of the only 8 players in the CFL to rack up 10,000 total return yards. And just tell us what that accomplishment meant to you in your life and your career.
it was. I mean, like I say, it's been a blessing for me. I mean, playing football for 13 years, pro, NFL, and CFL. It's been a blessing because, I mean, it was so many people was doubting me, saying that I wasn't going to do it, I wasn't going to make it, I was too small, or I didn't go to a big enough school, I wasn't going to get a look from the NFL, or all this stuff that you always hear, and all this chatter that you always hear all the time. But at the same time, you know, I knew I was able and I was willing to get the job done. And I mean, like you said, being one of the 8 to get 10,000 yards when I was in Montreal, I mean, I really stood out in Montreal just for, for those 5 years I was there, man. I was trying to be like, I wanted to be the talk of the city. I was like the quarterback on special teams. Like, I wanted to break all the records, and the special teams coach that we had, which eventually went on to be the GM, he was making sure that I knew every record that was out there that we was going to break, and we was going after every game, was going after records every game. So every game and every year was going after records. So that will, if you're going after a record, that's put a little thing in your mind. You're like, okay, if I do good, I'm gonna break this record. So why not get 100, 200 yards all purpose? Because I know I'm trying to break this record, and I need that. That was motivation.
Absolutely. So to piggyback on Brian's question, you also topped 2,000 rushing yards that season as well in 2018. Specifically in the CFL, did you like your role better as a returner or as a halfback? Because you were definitely skilled at both. Talking in CFL.
I like both, because you get an opportunity, you get a chance to do a lot. So the only thing about in CFL, you got the 3 downs. It's 3 and out. You know what I'm saying? You got the first and second. If you don't do nothing, you got to punt. So, I mean, I like both. You know what I'm saying? But more in CFL, you gotta have a nice quarterback. See, NFL is more traditional because you got 4 downs. You got pro style offense. You can run and pass. So in CFL is more of a passing league because of the field so big, and you only have 3 downs. So they have more receivers on the field. You have more players on the field in general. So I like both. If I was playing running back full time up there, I would love it. But as you can see, you don't really get a whole lot of touches as a running back up in Canada. So the same amount of touches that a starting running back would get, maybe 6 to 8 a game, I was getting that as a returner. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna get the same amount of returns with less beating.
Right. I mean, it's not only a punting kickoffs. It's also popular in the CFL to return field goals as well.
Yes, sir.
Because the field is so wide compared to the NFL. You see field goal returns in the NFL, but not as much as you do in the CFL. So that's where you get probably most of your returns, is where teams are trying to kick long field goals, and the field's so wide you can return those.
Right.
So, and then in 2019, you signed with the Ottawa Red Blacks, which one of our guests, Darian Harris, he signed with them in 2016. Yeah. And then played your 100th career game in this Canadian Football League, and got your total yardage up to 11,970 yards, and became second in CFL history in kickoff return yards. So now you're 38 years young. You said you're retired. So, but if a team gives you a call and they say they want your services, you go back.
Oh man, I mean, to be honest with you, I mean, I won't lie to you. Yeah, I would, because playing football, it's once you're done and you get to a certain age and you start losing a step, you got to hang the cleats up. It's not like you working a 9 to 5. Like, say you got a lawyer, and he's successful and he retires or whatever it is at 30. Right. And he said, hey, you know what? I want to take up another practice. I'm gonna go back to school and I'm gonna get something else. I'm gonna get another degree, and then I'm gonna come back 5 years later. He can continue and do something else. When football comes around, once you hang those cleats up and 2 years done pass by, you're done. There's no coming back. So I always I tell my kids, like, and I tell people that I talk to about football, play as long as you can, because when you hang those cleats up, that's it. There's no more I'm gonna go back, or you're done. So yeah, that opportunity came. Of course, man, I would take advantage of it, man. Why not?
Absolutely. I mean, it'd be so cool to see you on the field in the CFL again. But if 2019 was your final season as a professional football player, what is next for Stefan Logan? Like you said earlier in the show, you are coaching in Pennsylvania. Can you tell us more about that?
Yeah, I mean, as soon as I got done, I was finishing November, and I came home in December, and I got a call from, which was my offensive line coach in college, Coach Tony Spencer. He called me and said that one of his old coaches that he worked for got a head coaching job in Pennsylvania at a Division II college, which is the name is called Lock Haven University. And he gave me a call, and we did a phone interview. And he was like, "Man, I've heard so many great things about you." He actually knew who I was because he coached against me at North Dakota, so he knew what type of player I was. So he was like, I have a spot. If you want it, it's yours. So, and it happened just like that for me. Like I said, I've been blessed, this whole time playing football. And now that I'm done, I'm coaching at a Division II college, which is called Lock Haven University. So if you got some of these college, some of these ball players that's trying to come out, we're trying to build this program. So y'all come on over.
Absolutely. That's so great for you. Coaching from what a successful career that you've had, trying to get these guys, get them looks from either the NFL, CFL, the XFL if it comes back. So trying to get them looks is, and build their reputations up and make them better people. That's the best thing that you could do.
That's the best thing. Give back to them. Let them know, man. Like, and one other thing, like me being I'm the running backs coach as well. So the guys, my group, and once I tell them my name and they find out who I am and Google me and all this other stuff, that gives them a better like edge, because now they feeling like they learning from a professional. And I just finished playing football, so I'm not like I'm like 10 years removed. Like I'm only a few months removed. So like I'm going to still get out there and do drills with them. I'm gonna still run gassers with them. I'm gonna still do all that stuff to stay in shape, because I like to stay in shape. I just change over from running and pounding and working out like I used to. Now, like I have a bicycle, a road bike. So now that I'm like I tell them, I'm trying to be like the Lance Armstrong on the road bike. So I got all the gear. I'm riding 15, 20 miles a day, and it's fun, man. I actually like it a lot. Like I'm spending money on that thing. It's fun.
I mean, that's great to hear, Stefan, and that's all we have to ask you. We thank you so much for joining us today, and we hope that you and your family are staying safe down in Miami during this time, and hopefully the state of Florida reopens as well as the state of Michigan. We're slowly reopening. We're hoping the state of Florida opens up soon as well, because it's almost summertime. So,
been something for us.
Absolutely. So Stefan, we appreciate you coming on with us. We hope that you stay healthy and stay safe during these times, as well as your kids and your wife as well. So, and we hope to talk. Hope we can talk to you sometime down the road, as well. So, and keep in contact with us as well.
Hey, man, I appreciate it, man. Thanks for having me on, man. Y'all keep doing your thing, man. Hey, this show gonna be popping in a minute, man. Just keep doing it. Stay at it. I know y'all say y'all been doing it now for 4 years. It takes time, but hey,
absolutely,
we got nothing but time right now. So anyway, but just keep doing it, man. But thanks for having me on the show, man. I really appreciate that.
Thank you for the kind.
Thank you.
We appreciate it, and good luck and take care.
All right, you too, bro. Y'all be easy.
Stay safe.
Stay safe. Man, what a show that was. I mean, talking about going from Ben Roethlisberger, Hines Ward, all those guys in Pittsburgh, to Detroit, Matthew Stafford, Calvin Johnson, Nate Burleson, and then to the CFL breaking records, putting his status in the all-time Canadian Football League list. That's a hell of a career.
If people don't realize it, there's going to be there's a legend in the mist, basically. Just people don't know about it, who people frankly should. So we were very blessed to have him on a show, and hopefully we can hear great success from his coaching job in Pennsylvania. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, and that's all the time we have for this week. We got a double header for you this week. Please make sure to like and subscribe to this channel. All of our social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and our new official website that is up on all of our social media links. And join us Saturday because we have Macomb County Executive Mark Hackle joining us.
He's returning
again for the third time, tying Darian Harris for the most guest appearances. And that one, that show is going to be more of a real, because we've been calling it the COVID season for this show. This is really going to be about COVID itself. So and we're going to mix in sports as well. So please make sure to tune in for that one, because that one is definitely a watch episode as much as this one. So until we meet again on Saturday for our double feature, as always, keep it fresh, and apologies to Sam Martin, ran out of time again. Stay safe, stay healthy, and as always, keep it fresh.